All right, today we're going to step into the world of a truly elite special operator. And we're going to do that to unpack a really critical warning he has for all of us. We'll see how his decades on actual physical battlefields, the kind with bullets and bombs, have completely shaped his view on the invisible threats we're all facing right now. Let's get into it. So this quote right here from Dale Comstock, this is really our starting point. This isn't just him describing his old job, it's a declaration of purpose. This is the mindset of someone who draws a very, very hard line between being a protector and being a predator. And it's from that exact perspective that he sees the world today. Here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we're going to get a feel for an operator's world by looking at a nearly impossible rescue mission. Then, we'll dive into their heads and try to understand the unique psychology behind it all. And finally, and this is the big one, we'll pivot to the present day to see how those exact same lessons lead to Comstock's sobering warning for every single one of us. So let's start with the man himself, because to really understand his warning about what's coming, you first have to get a handle on the incredibly high-stakes world he comes from. I mean, just look at this resume. It is the definition of elite. A full decade in Delta Force. That's the Army's top-tier special missions unit. On top of that, he was a Green Beret, a weapons expert, and after all that, he spent another 10 years or so doing high-stakes work for a clandestine government agency. This is the foundation of experience that shapes everything he has to say. To really see this world in action, we're going to rewind the clock. We're going back to a crazy moment in time, Operation Acid Gambit, a high-stakes rescue in Panama, way back in 1989. And this isn't just some war story. It's a masterclass in problem-solving under extreme pressure. Okay, so the mission objective was crystal clear, but also unbelievably dangerous. Get a captured CIA operative named Kurt Muse out of the Modelo prison. Now, this place was a fortress, and rescuing him was the absolute critical first move in the U.S. invasion of Panama. This timeline just shows you what a pressure cooker this was. 7 hours before they're supposed to hit the target, they get this devastating piece of intel from their sniper teams. The enemy knows they're coming. The prison is being fortified. The mission was compromised before it even started. But here's the thing. The main invasion force was already in the air. There was no turning back. The decision was made, we go anyway. Now, for Comstock, personally, this entire massive operation all came down to one critical moment. He was the breacher. His job, blow the door on the prison roof. But when he gets there, surprise, it's not one door, it's two. A jail door with open bars and a solid steel door right behind it, and he had one single explosive charge to get through both. And then, disaster. He arms the charge, but as he's running for cover, a faulty pin gives way, and the whole explosive pack just falls off the door. He thinks he's got seconds before it detonates, but nothing. It was a misfire. So in that split second, with enemy soldiers firing at him, he had to make a choice. He ran back, grabbed the live explosive, stuck it back on the door, and this time, boom, it worked. That is problem solving at its absolute most extreme. So the team gets inside, they rescue Muse, and they load him onto the helicopter, but the second it lifts off the roof, it gets just riddled with gunfire from the street below and crashes. The incredible success of the breach was immediately followed by another life-or-death crisis. Okay, so just think about everything that just happened. The compromised intel, the fortified prison, the breach going wrong, the helicopter getting shot down, the massive firefight. The total time from when those operators first took off to when they were safely back at base, 6 minutes. Just an almost unbelievable display of precision and speed. So that mission, that tells us what these guys do. But now let's talk about who they are. I mean, what is the psychological wiring of a person who can actually function and even thrive in that level of chaos? According to Comstock, the single most important trait Delta Force looks for isn't being the strongest guy or having the highest IQ. It's something he calls effective intelligence. This is the raw, practical ability to solve incredibly complex life-or-death problems right now, in the moment. It's not about being book smart. It's about having street smarts under pressure you and I can't even imagine. And the way they find these people is what's so fascinating. Standard military training is all about the group, about teamwork. But Delta selection, it's all about you, the individual. They don't give you a clear standard to meet. They just tell you to do your absolute best, completely on your own. The whole point isn't just to test your body. The point is to break your body to see how your mind operates when there is absolutely nothing left in the tank. And this This really gets to the absolute core of the warrior mindset. Kamatak explains that most people, when they're in a life-or-death moment, they hesitate. Why? Because they haven't made peace with their own mortality. But Delta operators, he's saying, they've already done that work. They've resolved their own death, and that's what removes the hesitation and lets them act decisively when it matters most. So you've got this mindset, right? Extreme problem solving, incredible individual resilience, and this resolved sense of mortality. Now here's where we bring all of that into today, because Comstock's core message is that the battlefield has completely changed. It's shifted from physical threats you can see to these pervasive dangers that are all around us all the time. So what happens when the skills you need to survive aren't about blowing up a door under fire? What happens when the war is for your attention, for your data, for your very perception of reality, and the battlefield is the phone in your hand? Comtalk points to a whole new list of threats that are, way less obvious, but far more widespread. We're talking about AI and disinformation being used as weapons, the fentanyl crisis, human trafficking becoming a massive business for cartels. He sees all of this as a multi-front war on our individual freedom and sense of purpose. And just to put one of these threats into perspective, think about his warning on AI. He points to predictions that something like 80% of the entire global population could see their jobs displaced in the next few years. Now look, the key takeaway isn't about whether that 80% number is exact. It's the unprecedented scale of the change he believes is coming right at us. And all of this brings us to his final, very sobering warning. What is the single most important lesson from the guy who stared down death on rooftops for how to navigate this new, crazy world? This is his stark conclusion. In the face of these modern threats, from info warfare to societal decay, the systems we used to rely on for support are either eroding or just plain gone. The cavalry isn't coming. And this is where that operator mindset suddenly becomes relevant to all of us. That effective intelligence, that's not just for a prison door anymore, it's for navigating a world of disinformation. That individual resilience, it's not for a selection course, it's for building a stable life in an unstable world. And that really leaves us with the final critical question. In a world where the battlefield is in our pockets, in our communities, and in our own minds, what does it really mean to be prepared? In this new war, are you the front line?